All right, this is for anyone who wants to learn how to make sermon graphics. So we're going to start with a sermon. We got an email from Don Dalton because Steve is preaching on Wednesday night, and the name of his sermon is The Face of God, Part 2. Um, so, and this is just the part where you get to be a little bit creative. You get to kind of pick. And so when I think of the face of God, I think of stars and planets. Uh, that's just what I think of. So I went to Google, I searched for Milky Way, and I got a number of different pictures. Now, when you're selecting pictures in your Google search, there's a couple things you want to uh, make sure that you look at. Our background for our screen is um, 2400 by 600. So you want to make sure that you get something, a nice big image to work with. It doesn't have to be the full 2400, but it needs to be close, because the more you stretch an image, the more it's blurry. And so like this one right here, this one's only 500 by 400 rounding. So if you stretch that image, it's not going to work at all. But we get over to here to uh, this one, which is the one I chose. I think. Yes, this one's the one I chose. So this one's 1600 by 800. It's not quite the full size of what I need, but it's closer. Or this one's even better. Look at this one. This one's 1920 by 1080. And so that's a nice big image. We should be able to make that work. Um, so pick your image. That's the first thing to do. The second thing you need to do is, if you don't already, you need to go install GIMP. GIMP is a free piece of software. Let me see if I can search it. GIMP is a free piece of software. It's the equivalent of Adobe Photoshop if you've used that before. You can download it for PC. You can download it for Mac. It's very good for what it does. It doesn't. Some of the high-end stuff that Adobe does, it won't do. But for the most part, it does everything that I needed to do. And so I just highly recommend it. So get yourself GIMP, then you open up GIMP. And then you open up, and then you need to save your image. You pick the one you wanted, and we're going to call that face. That's not the right thing. Face. And there it is. There's your GIMP image. Now, I will either provide you with access to the Dropbox, or I will send it to you through an email, but there's a background image that I've made that kind of helps you do the image for the background. So it's called background template. You just double click that open, and now that's open. And you can see our background image is the exact size that we need, 2400 by 600. And so what I do is I go over here to this guy, and it's not quite big enough, so it's not going to fill up this whole thing. So I go over here to image, I scale the image, and then I make it 2400, the width. Now, and then I hit scale. Now, it's 2400 by 1350, but we only got 600 on our, we can only display 600. So it's going to crop a lot of the top and bottom of this, and that's fine. So I'm going to hit Control A for select all, Control C for copy, and then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to select the background layer, and I'm going to paste it right onto there. And there you go. And now I've got a background on my background slide. Next thing I want to do is I want to put the title in. So, I select the A for the text tool. Sorry, I have to put that in a layer. So I select the A for the text tool here. What's the title of the sermon again? The Face of God. The Face of God. Pastor, and then we go down here, Pastor Steve Dalton. And the verse that he's using is, he didn't tell us, so we have to open it up. Genesis. So Genesis 32:24 through 30. So you can see that like I've got it all kind of, I got a little bit of a system. I got everything kind of in place. On Wednesday nights, you can drop these down. The reason that we have that space down below here for Sundays is that's where the timer is, but we don't use a timer on Wednesday. So since this is a Wednesday sermon, I'm going to go ahead and just drop these down into the timer position because there is no timer. And then maybe I want to make this a little bigger. Give it a little more oomph. Yeah. I got my size the way I want it. There's last step. I want to put, because it's up front, I want to be able to see the words. The words need to be clearly seen. And so the way I make it so I can see the words is I put a shadow on it. So you go to Filters, Light and Shadow, and then you drop a shadow. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know why GIMP does this, but it opens up this little secondary window thing. So you bring that up. I like to put my shadow at 2, and then I like to keep it a little tighter, my blur radius. The blur is like how far away from the words the shadow goes. I don't like to resize it, and I keep the opacity at 60. So I hit it. Now, that did a pretty good job, but I like to hit it a couple of times. Maybe one more. And so you can kind of see, like, because we're putting a shadow, because we're putting black outline around our white text, the text begins to stand out and you begin to see it more clearly. Same way with Genesis, same way with Pastor Steve. That's pretty much it. That's how you basically do the background. Now, we also make a YouTube graphic and also a web page graphic, but basically it's the same thing. You're just I've already created the template. You just size the image to be the size that fits into the template, and then you change the words to say what you want. You paste your picture in that you've picked off Google, and you save it off, and that's it.